What's your master? So one of the most prevalent masters that especially we have right now in our society is the master of my own desire. We are actually told to worship our desires. If you feel it, do it. And what happens, and you'll find this is what's going to happen. Right and wrong, black and white, these things, morality, becomes just based on what I feel. If I feel it, then it's right. And if I don't feel it, then it's wrong. So I become the source of right and wrong. And I'm sure you can imagine how dangerous that would be. Is that whatever, imagine a person who doesn't like their car, so they like their neighbor's car, so they desire that car. So does that mean it's okay to go take it? Right? You might have a desire due to your anger to go beat someone up. But is it okay to do it just because you feel it? And the answer is no. But there is a huge, there's a lot of confusion right now. There's a lot of confusion right now, and it stems in, and it's rooted in this particular issue. And that is, if you feel a desire, if you feel an attraction, obey it. And just because you have that desire and you have that attraction, it immediately makes it okay. And that is essentially the problem. And it's a very deep-rooted problem, and right now we're seeing the effect of that in various different spheres, right? You guys know exactly what I'm talking about, yeah? And the problem here is that we have to go back to ask, what are we worshiping? What's our ilah? What is our ilah? What makes something right and wrong? And is right and wrong above my desire? Or does my desire determine right and wrong? You understand? This argument that just because I feel an attraction to someone, that becomes okay for me to obey that desire, comes and it's rooted in this idea that I worship my own desire. Does that make sense? There has to be a higher morality of right and wrong. And that's the question we have to ask ourselves. Who determines it? Who determines your GPS? That's the question you have to ask. What's guiding you in this journey? What's telling you turn right? No, don't turn left. No, that's the wrong way. No, make a U-turn. And that's what we have to ask. And as believers, we know that this is Allah and His Messenger. He gives us that guidance. Now, on this journey, we need guidance, yeah? So that's very important. Where are we getting our guidance? The second thing we need is when you're on a journey, you're gonna sometimes hit obstacles, yeah? You're gonna hit potholes, you're gonna hit blocked roads, construction. What would happen if every time you made a wrong turn, can you imagine driving, and every time you made a wrong turn, you said, you know what, the GPS is like, you know what, you made a wrong turn, you might as well just pull over and give up. Just stop driving. Right? Just, that's it. You made, you turn, you missed your exit, so just stop, pull over, turn off the car. Right? That doesn't happen. What happens when you make a mistake when you're driving? What does the GPS do? Reroutes you. Okay, great. So that rerouting is extremely essential in life. When we make a wrong turn, when we make mistakes, and we will falter, we will slip, we will make mistakes because it's part of being human. And if a person gives up every time they make mistakes, it'll be like a person who just stops driving every time they make a wrong turn. They're not going to ever end up at their destination. So one of the things we have to be able to do is have that ability to reroute, that ability to keep going even after we fall, even after we make a mistake, and to not lose hope, and to be able to go back and get back on the road. Does that make sense? So that's extremely important too, is being able to handle our going off track and our mistakes. Now, what else do we have to do when we're driving? We have to be very conscious of what we focus on. Now, this is one of the mistakes we make, and this affects us spiritually, and this affects us psychologically. There's an important psychological principle that you have to remember, and that is that whatever you focus on grows. Whatever you focus on grows. So what does that mean in life? It means if you're a person who focuses on all the things that are going wrong, or all the things that are difficult, or the darkness, or negativity, guess what happens? It grows. It surrounds you. If you're a problem-focused person, you're always going to be anxious. And the reason for that is that whatever you focus on, it grows and it surrounds you. And on the other hand, if you're a person who focuses on positivity, if you're a person who focuses on what you have, it also grows. And this is that power of now in this new age discussion, all about positive psychology, right? What is positive psychology about? Well, it's all about how do we improve our quality of life and increase well-being and develop flourishing and all these kinds of concepts. You know what they found when they talk about happiness now? Because psychology is kind of taken, now they've moved away from the traditional psychology. Now positive psychology isn't as interested in looking at disease as it is just let's look at how we can just be happier people. There's a lot of research right now about increasing well-being and being happier. And you know what they found? One of the most powerful ways to just be a happier person and to increase your well-being is the power and the practice of gratitude. Why is that? Why is gratitude so powerful? I mean, they found in studies that keeping a simple gratitude journal, writing 3 to 5 things every day that you're grateful for, is so powerful that it can actually help treat depression.
Because you know that you're leaving and you're not too attached to that room. And you'll notice a very stark difference between the dormitory of a student or the apartment where students are living and someone's home. Have you ever noticed this? When you enter an apartment, I noticed this, and it brings this point home. When you visit the apartment of some students, and subhanAllah, so humble, right? I mean, they have some table that they brought from, some used table, some folding chairs. The couch is, ripped, but it's okay, right? Why is it okay? Because they know they're only staying there for a little while. And you compare that now to a person who just bought a house. And compare the way that the two houses look. Now the point here is not to say that you can't have nice furniture. The point is to say that there is a difference. There is a difference in our attachment to a place when you know that you're leaving. There is a difference. So when you know that you're leaving this life, you become a lot less attached to it. And the Prophet ﷺ is giving us a beautiful example by comparing it to a traveler or a stranger. A stranger. When you're in a place and you are different than everyone else, there's this sort of natural detachment that happens. You're not necessarily trying to please them anymore because you know that you're so different. And I personally experienced this because when I would enter, a lot of times when I would enter my lecture hall in the United States, I'm the only, not just the only Muslim, but the only hijabi, right? The only person wearing hijab. I know I'm different from the get-go. So what that does is it kind of breaks this barrier. So now I have no reservation raising my hand, asking whatever I want to ask, saying whatever I want to say, because I know I'm already different anyways, right? So it sets you apart. It sets you apart, and you don't become so engrossed and so attached and so much needing to fit in, because you already know that you're different. Remember that we were born in order to die. We were not born in order to live. When we were born in this life, we entered into a path to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Let me ask you this question though. What is it a path of? What exactly is moving to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Reflect on this for a second. When you were born, did you look like you look now? No. Did your body look anything like it looks now? No. Because there are no babies in this room. We're adults. We look different than we were born. So this path is not the path of a body, right? Because our body is completely different. This is a path of the heart. The heart is what is going to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we have to make sure that our heart is actually moving. And there's this very, very beautiful statement of one of the great shuyukh that says, why is it that I see you standing and sitting and kneeling and prostrating, staying up and working hard, and yet your heart has not moved and has not left any of its habits, has not moved from its place? You see, we put in a lot of efforts sometimes with our body. We put in a lot of deeds perhaps. We're working hard. Sometimes we're working very hard, even in the cause of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah reward you. And yet we find that the heart does not change. The heart does not move. And we don't change our habits at all. We used to get angry too easily. 10 years later, we're still getting angry too easily. We used to have a lot of anger, or a lot of envy, or a lot of hatred. 10 years later, we've done all these, maybe we've planned a lot of events. Maybe we've done a lot of work. Maybe we've done a lot of prayers. We've prayed a lot. And yet we continue. Our heart looks exactly the same. Our heart is not changing. And that means we're not really moving. So we have to make sure that we are really moving, because it's not a motion of the body. It's a motion of the heart to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's a change. We need to be changing. We need to be coming back. We need to be internally changing our image. How we look inside needs to become more and more beautiful, inshallah. In a very profound hadith, the Prophet ﷺ said, "Mutu qabla an tamutu," kama qal, or kama qal, die before your death. Die before your death. This is a very deep statement on many levels. For one, it is reminding us to hold ourselves accountable before we are held accountable. Hold yourself accountable before you are held accountable. But it's something else too. It's also about detachment. Die before your death. If you have already died to this life, you are not attached to it anymore. And I'm going to clarify what I mean here, because a lot of people then will say, well, does that mean that we don't get involved in dunya? That we don't get married? That we don't have jobs? That we don't use Facebook? Is that what it means to be detached? And I will say clearly and emphatically, no, that's not what it means to be detached. Because detachment is with the heart. Detachment is not with the body. I can be involved in something. There were companions of the Prophet, peace be upon them, who were extremely wealthy. They had a lot of money. But I will tell you that their money was in their hand and not in their heart. Their money did not control them.